Welcome everyone. We're getting the TSP Talk series back up and running where we're talking about technology businesses and talking about trends and challenges that technology businesses are having. And today I've got Maria with me and I'll introduce her a bit better. But for those that don't know me, I'm James, the director of Pax8 Academy for APAC. And I'm really looking forward to talking about the topic that we're going to have today. So before I dive in, I'll let you introduce yourself, Maria, and then I'm going to throw you a hand grenade to answer.
I'm Maria. I'm one of the subject matter experts in the Pax8 Academy. I've got a long history background with working in the MSP space all the way through, from vendor through to MSP. So predominantly in the sales area. So it'll be interesting to see what James wants to quiz me on today.
So today I thought we'd talk about growing your micro technology business. We've got a lot of Pax8 partners that are that 1 to 5 person business, and they do want to grow though, and they've got a lot of value to add to the wider economy. They're helping a lot of their clients. There's a lot of great things that these micro partners are doing, but every time I talk to them, they're stuck. They've been at that sort of 1 to 5 people size for a few years now. They've probably been doing their business. They're out of the startup phase and they really want to go to the next level, but they're not sure to start. So I thought to put you on the spot is, what do you think they need to focus on, and what's the most important thing why they're stuck?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to a lot of the smaller partners who say they don't know where to start. It's that that blank page. What do you do next? What do you do to move the business forward? My advice is know what you're selling, and know whether it's making you money. Because you can sell something and you can sell it really well and you can deliver it really well, but if it's actually making you no money, your business isn't going to be able to grow. So operationally, you need to understand what the product is, what your service is, and how much profit it gives you.
And how would you go about that? So if you didn't know, you've been doing this, you've been doing what you've been doing, how would you look at that?
So a lot of smaller partners don't have a PSA. Those who have a PSA often get those reports. You can get the reports that tell you what your gross margin is and, how much time you're spending with a client. A lot of businesses don't feel that they're ready for something like a PSA, and they might be managing on a spreadsheet or using Xero or MYOB, which are fine. But you need to start tracking. You need to be tracking your time. You need to be tracking your cost of goods. Nobody likes finances. I like money. I don't like doing finances. But that's the problem. That's my opinion would be that step one. Know what you've got. Know what your assets are in your ability. What's your ability to be able to deliver things? Do you have the time? Are you charging appropriately?
It's interesting. I have slightly a different opinion around this. What you said is correct, and you definitely need to have this best practice of, financials are super important. When we didn't start a charity, we need to be making money, and being able to track that properly is super important. I think even a step before then is actually having a sales mindset is where most small business owners get stuck more than anything, because I've seen plenty of businesses scale up past this size with none of what you said, and they solve the problems later.
Yes, it's a lot harder to solve those problems later when you're a lot bigger.
It can be, and it depends how poor your gross margins are and that kind of thing. But let's be honest, there's some market rates already set for a lot of what we're doing. So my first advice is don't charge cheap. Look at what the premium providers are providing and do what they're doing and provide those services. If you can't do it, don't fake it till you make it sometimes, but there's that balance. So we already know if you're charging $50 a seat for all you can eat managed service, you're not going to make much money. We know the average is $100 a seat, and we know the premium is typically 120 to 140. And we're just talking end user support and infrastructure management, no cybersecurity, no subscriptions. It's pure
No projects.
Support management, no projects, no projects. And that means nothing typically above 2 hours worth of work. You're not giving away desktop installs, all that kind of stuff. So there's a starting point. So to me, there's already sort of like a model. So if you can't use that simply to get focused, it's the actually wanting to go and do sales, to me, is what gets in the way of most partners. And that's why you become small, you get stuck as a small thing because you're not selling to enough people and you don't have enough pipeline to keep adding more people, and you can solve a lot of these operational problems with money.
And I know that a lot of partners that I speak to, they get into this because they love the tech. They love, they love all the cool, new, shiny things, and they like helping people more than anything. I don't think I've met a partner who's not wanted to make a difference in some way. So that's a great mindset to have to run a business, as long as you understand that you can help people and still charge them for it. And not give away your services for free, because that's obviously going to be eating into your gross margin. But the same thing comes from selling. I speak to these MSPs and they go, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a tech." And I say, yeah, but you want to help people. And if you approach your sales mindset with, how can I help a client? Not what technical resources am I going to deliver to them? Not, which widget do I need to sell them? How can I solve their problems? Because that's what we are. We're problem solvers in this industry. And we need to, that's the sales mindset that they need to approach it with.
So how does that practically look?
Well, problem solving comes from having answers. So ask them. Ask your clients, what do you need? What does your business need? Not, do you need a new laptop? Do you need more licensing? It's, what does your business do? What do you want it to do? Where do you want your business to grow to? And then find a solution to solve those problems. Most clients don't want to know what you're using to solve their problems. They don't care. They want to be able to send an email. They want to be able to surf a website. They want to be able to use whatever their line of business software is to run their business. They want to know that it's going to be there when they want it to be there. And if it's not, they're going to get the help that they need. That's all they want. They want you to be able to assure them that that's the case. So you're problem solving. You're solving their problems. And that's all selling is, really. It's asking the question of what they need and then problem solving it.
That's too simple. It can't be true. And the vendors are going to hate you for saying all the end users don't care what products they're using, but it's reality.
It's absolutely a reality. They don't know and they don't care.
No, we can both attest to that many times. Yeah. And I'm non-technical. I don't care a lot of the time. You're looking for solutions. I think that's a very good point. And I want to go back to a comment that you made before of how a lot of people get into this industry and start running their own business. They do it because they want to help people, and they often do it because either they've worked for someone and they've sold the business, or they've gotten frustrated and they think, oh, I can go do this myself better. And we have this crazy thought that, yeah, well, I've got these skills, I can just turn it into a business and it'll magically make me money. I'm guilty of this. I did this way back when. It's not a judgment. anyone that's run a small business, all our brains aren't right. If we had any logic about it, we'd never start a business. It's okay. But what I'd probably add to what your point there, apart from not knowing some of the business acumen stuff and the financials, we're often not going into the business with a purpose. Like outside of I want to help people, I've got some technical skills. Why else am I running the business? Is it to make money? Is it so I can build it up and sell it and have a big payday and I can retire early? Is it so I can fund my kids' lifestyle? Is it? There's no right or wrong answer with this at all. But I often find, especially for the guys that have been doing this for a long time, the longer you do it without having that purpose, the more you get entrenched of doing the same things you've always done, and you're typically not making a whole lot of money, and you're trapped. So what do you see and feel? What are the ways that people could look at that, whether you're starting new or you may be 5-8 years into this business life cycle?
Yeah, look, that touchy feely type. What's my purpose? What's my life purpose? What's my business purpose? They do overlap as a business owner, and they're scary. They're scary to stop and think, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do when I grow up? You know, as teenagers we do it, as high school kids, or you know, even in our early 20s. You know, when I grow up, I want to be this, or I want to do this with my life. We don't stop and think. You know, at any point, we should be able to say, what do we want to do? I remember when I was in my 20s, the most frightening interview question was always, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And I always thought, who's planning on living for another like, what? Who plans 5 years ahead? But, you know, with age, I've realized actually knowing where I want to be in 5 years personally helps guide what I do with my work life, because it all contributes to where I'm going to get myself to personally. So I think as business owners, knowing where you want to be, where you want to get to, you don't have to be there now. You don't have to be there in 5 years' time or even 10 years' time. You want to know that at some point this is where you want to be, and make sure that you're on the right track. And it's no different to any other journey. You need to know that you're always going in roughly the right direction. That direction can change. You can get 2 years down the track and go, actually, I didn't like that. I've completely changed my mind. That was a really silly idea. Now I want to go over here. That's okay. But you need to, if you're not taking that stop and reflection and you're still on that same journey, you're going to find yourself in a place that you don't want to be. And that's where we see a lot of business owners burn out, because they go, what am I doing here? You know, it's that wake up one morning and just go, I hate my life. I hate everything. And nobody wants to be at that point, ever. And for a business owner, that's particularly difficult. For your staff, if you've got staff who are waking up saying, what am I doing? Why am I here? That's when they leave. We don't want them to be at that point either. But as a business owner, you can't just go, okay, goodbye, I'm walking out. You've got a business. You've got potentially staff. Maybe maybe it's wrapped up with your mortgage. Maybe, it's not an easy thing to just get up and walk out on your business. So having that regular check-in to make sure you're still on the path you want to be on, and change it. If it's a lot easier to change than it is to completely flip something.
Yeah, and I think that's really great advice. I think what I see typically then is what happens is people start trying to copy the one true business model. So what I'm seeing all the time is people jumping on wonderful communities like Tech Tribe, or jumping on the Facebook forums. They're trying to solve their business problems by copying everyone else. And I may be a bit biased because of what I do as a day job. I wouldn't copy most people that are posting on those forums, because they're just in the position, most often the same position as you are, but they're giving no context. They don't understand what they're talking about. They're just parroting on generic advice that keeps getting passed around the industry. And it's super dangerous. I hate it. Like, I won't go on a rant on this, but some of the advice I see that it's like been either watered down from a concept that maybe someone in senior in the industry has pushed out. It's the right stuff, and it's just got watered down, watered down, watered down till it's meaningless, or it's completely the wrong advice from people that haven't actually run and done successful businesses, passing on to each other. So what's more important than like the one true MSP model is knowing where you're going and what you're trying to do, what your skill sets are, and bring some uniqueness to it. If you're a 1 to 3 person technology business at the moment, you're actually quite agile. You can change things a lot faster than, say, the 200 person MSP down the road. You're playing a different game. It's a different market. You've got the opportunity now to find a new niche, different technology, etc., that's powerful for your strengths, and you've got a large market out there. The traditional thoughts of I just service the people that I know in the area that I work in are long gone. We all work remotely. It's all cloud technology. Da 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 da. You've actually got, if you're in Australia, you've got all of Australia. If you're in New Zealand, you've got all New Zealand and Southeast Asia, huge markets. Let alone you expand into those markets just from your locality. You've got a lot of opportunity there to create a niche, and it's a time in the market that is right for something different. So when you're looking at this, it comes down to that purpose and planning, and it's like that building up that knowledge as well. And I want to ask you a question off the back of this, Maria. When people are looking at growing their businesses, I often hear the generic advice is you need to do everything recurring. You need to have one single plan. You've seen a couple of successful technology businesses in your time. What's the right way?
There isn't one. I probably shouldn't say that. This comes back to, especially when you're a smaller business, that agility, but it comes back to what do you want? What do you want? As a business owner, as a person, as a human being, what do you want from your life? And because your business is so tied up, your business is you are your business. There's no separating the two until the time when you make the clear decision that you're selling or closing the business, you're stepping away from the business. And then there's a whole process behind that. So that's something completely different. But if we're talking about you running the business, you are the business. And so that comes down to that purpose. If you know what you want from life, if you want a business where you drop your kids at school, you work from 10 till 2, and then you pick your kids up from school and you hang out with them and you take them to basketball, great. That's fabulous. Wonderful. You might structure your business very differently to somebody who goes, do you know what? I want to build an empire. I'm gonna work 15 hours a day and I'm going to build an empire. So there's no one right answer to, do we do recurring revenue? Do I choose to sell hardware? Maybe the decision is that all you want to do is sell hardware, deliver hardware, install hardware. And that's great. That's not good and it's not bad. If it's good for you, then it's good. So it comes down to, what do you enjoy? What do you want to do? And if your business is structured around your purpose, you're going to sell the concept of your business to clients so much better than something you don't believe in. So if you take the hardware example, if you love hardware, you love installing hardware and teaching people how to use their new hardware and all of that side of things, and you go, I'm going to be a managed service provider because somebody told me that's the way to go, then you're going to be miserable. You're not going to back what you're selling. And people buy from people. We've all heard this phrase. It's absolutely true. You don't like buying from somebody. We've all worked with a vendor that we didn't love, and you go, even if their product's good, you're like, do I want to take their call? Because we connect with people, we connect with other humans, and it's the same with your clients. Your clients want to buy from a technology provider who's passionate about the technology that they're helping them with. You're going to be able to ask better questions of your clients to provide them the right solution if you're passionate about it. So there's no
100%.
one right answer.
Hey, I just play that hardware one off as an example. It's a good example. So when you know what you're passionate about and what your niche is, what you're saying there about the clients, it allows you to understand what client market are you actually targeting. And this hardware one's a great example. If I was to do that, I'm not enthusiastic about hardware, so you'll never see me jumping into that market. So more to everyone that's doing that. But if that is your market, I wouldn't be targeting direct clients. I'd be looking for all these MSPs that are struggling to get resources and are starting to offshore more and only need to contract for on-site work for this kind of thing occasionally and get myself a portfolio of these MSPs. All of a sudden, I've got a lot less headaches and I can do what I love, and I can set my business up and do it how I need and charge the market rate. All of a sudden, I've got steady income. I've got partnerships. I've got a sales teams that are going and selling this stuff all the time, and I'm just taking my orders. That can suit people really well. I've seen, as another example, I see some of those MSP owners that are like, they are really passionate about talking about technology. They probably legitimately are more towards the CTO, CIO, CISO type personality, rather than building an MSP that we've had to do back in the day of managing infrastructure and stuff. There's lots of options out there now to be like a technology broker. Go get a bunch of clients, get a recurring model going. If they're paying you $300 a month, they're going to pay you $300 an hour, $600 a month. You're going to spend 2 hours a month with them each, and then resell everyone else's stuff. Get commission off reselling VoIP and blah, 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 blah. Don't implement it. There's other people. Like we just said, there's hardware people that like their niche. So what we're seeing is that decentralization as things change. You don't have to be an MSP. And if you're not a proper MSP now, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to do it either. It's probably something that I'd highlight because the market's shifted a lot. So how would you go about this, Maria? Like if you've worked out your purpose, let's play on your example with maybe you don't want to work that often, and maybe you don't want to have that many employees. Employees are difficult. People are hard.
Yes.
I don't know why I signed up to be people management and do that kind of stuff. So there's perfect legitimacy in running a small micro business of 1, 2, 3 people and making good money out of it. How would you go about that, Maria? Like, what would you do?
To run it. Well, what's your purpose? What's your business plan? What do you want out of it? And then, where are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your skill set? What are your employees passionate about? Because maybe you've got a different skill set within your employee base. Maybe you do have maybe there's yourself as a business owner and then 2 other employees, and between the 3 of you, it's a particular skill set, or maybe it's quite diverse. And figure out, do you want to work with other technology service providers? Do you want to work and partner up? Do you want to work with... I was talking to somebody yesterday who said they do a lot of work with one particular vendor, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's their niche. The vendor actually gives them leads. They don't market. They don't do anything. They do one product. They do it very, very well, and they deep dive in that one product. And, they're like, and every couple of weeks we get sent an email saying, here's a lead, go do the thing, we've pretty much sold it for you. And they just go and they implement. So they don't even sell it. They don't sell licensing. They don't do any of those things. They go and they implement and they consult.
So what I take from this is, and I know this is a bit of a leading statement. You've got to make sure you price correctly. But going back to what you were talking about originally when we started this conversation, got to make sure you're actually profitable. And if let's say you're a one-person business, the problem that I always see time and time again is we're treating it as a salary pricing from the very outset. Like I still see people jumping into this industry and charging like $60 an hour. I was a gardener in 2012 charging $100 an hour. Like there's a bit of a mismatch there. So you do need to, based on what services you're providing, there's obviously a market forces that will fit things. But anytime you're a small business, we fall into the trap of thinking, oh, if we go cheap, we can get scale of economy, we'll grow into this. It's not true. As a statistic, only 5% of businesses get above 5 employees. So that typically means it's only like 5% of businesses that get above $1 million revenue. That's not even that big and scaled. It's above 200 employees. It's something like 0.002% get above 200. So if we play reality, unless you've got a clear plan, you've got really good financial backing, all of that, which most of us that start small businesses don't have any of that. We're just bootstrapping ourselves, working hard, using our technique, our skills, and going out there and just grinding away. Think premium from the start, because you're unlikely to ever scale. And if you have that mindset around, as I'm growing my business, I'm charging the right amount, I'm getting my gross margin, you'll find by having that sort of profitability, not just to pay yourself, but to hire good staff, to have good systems, you'll attract more clients because you're doing it better. And quality in small business overrides cheapness, unless you really want to go to the cheap market, but I never would.
Yeah, and that gets messier. I think when you're pricing from day one, you need to price pretending that you're paying an employee at market rates, and pay that employee as yourself. You are employee number one, but a proper salary, not whatever's left over after the project has finished. Who would happily take a job? As I said, years of sales. I've been offered sales roles in the past where they said, oh, we'll pay you like 90% commission and you've got unlimited earning power. And I go, but essentially I'm working for like $4 an hour. No thanks. But as business owners, we don't say no to that. Why? Maybe because, the passion's there in the beginning and the vision and the excitement and but it'll get better. It's going to get better. So it's okay that I'm only earning $4 an hour now but do we even stop and realize that it is only $4 an hour? I mean, that's where that financial, I'm a big fan of knowing those details to make those decisions. From a financial perspective, you don't need to go off and do a degree in accounting. To be perfectly honest, you don't even need to pay your accountant thousands of dollars. Things like, as a starting point, there is a load of content out there to help you with how to read the very basics of financials and work out if you're making a profit. If you're using Xero, for example, there's an entire free training course that's built into the Xero platform on how to read your financials and how to set a budget and how to price your products. It's a brilliant course. I've done it. It's not overly long. It's a couple of hours long, and it is designed for people who don't know or want to do financials. Most of the MYOB, Quicken, all of those guys offer the similar training to that. So even if you just start with that perspective, that gives you that starting point, gives you that idea of what you need to learn. And then you can go and reach out. You know, obviously we're a little biased because we help clients with this all the time. So, you know,
Just a little.
like, well, we could help. You know, and we got into this because we want to help people as well. So, but there are those resources out there. You don't need to rush out and pay somebody thousands of dollars to help you with this. You can start with the free stuff, because then you know what you're looking for as well, and you're making a decision with clear purpose as to what you need. And you know, if you know what your financials are doing, you're making a load of money anyway, so it doesn't matter if you then pay for the next step.
It's a very important point, because if you're charging like $60 an hour, all that happens is as you get busier, you can't afford to put anyone on at all. Like I say that just from that amount, even $100, you can't do that in this industry. Our average tech is costing $80 to $90,000 a year plus super. That's even for some level ones are getting up to that size. It's bloody expensive. So there's different ways to look at this. Having done small business myself, always pay yourself first. Don't get caught up in the growth of I need to throw people at this, I need to throw people at this, and it'll come, because it never comes. All you do is set up yourself for a massive failure or get trapped. So run some simple numbers. If you're walking away from a $150,000 job as an example, how much does that work out per hour that you need to get? And then how many hours can you actually spend working on it? Keeping this really simple do and charge model. How many hours per year do you have to actually deliver those services? You'll be sick, you'll be tired.
And how many hours do you want? So this comes back to purpose. You know, I could work 18-hour days. Do I want to work 18-hour days? Not really. So, you know, that comes back to that purpose, because you will be miserable if you say, I'm going to throw myself in and earn money 18 hours a day, when really what you want to do is play with your kid or go for a walk with your dog, and you'll burn out.
Exactly. And some people will like that method, and they'll go, well, I need this amount of money, I'll work this hours, I can plan to hire the next staff, etc. That works for them. It doesn't work for others. And so work out what the hourly rate is based on how much you need to charge per hour, just you delivering the work for the amount of hours that you can and want to work. There's your hourly rate that you need to charge. Is that realistic compared to the market? More than likely it probably is, because all the premium providers are already charging a good amount of money because they're doing it this way. But that lets you then go and start planning. And I know we could talk about this all day and we'll do more sessions, but the thing I'd wrap up from my perspective is planning that next employee. So what everyone does all the time is go, oh, well, I need to hire a tech. I need to get off the tools because I need to work on the business. Now, well, that's true. It's not actually in a small business. And often what it does is slow down your productivity in the first place. What you're better off doing is looking at things that are taking up your time in terms of the business process stuff. It might make more sense to get like a virtual operations coordinator from the Philippines. They might only cost you $2,500, great talent, and they can take off answering the phones, doing the scheduling for you, doing some of that admin work. All of a sudden you can do some more billable again. And they're already paying for themselves. Maybe it's maybe it's an offshore tech instead, to go, well, I can have someone full time. I've got them on a good salary that we can work together. They can take some of that load off. I can do something else. Might be to get a technology business specialist bookkeeper that takes on a lot of that administration work, and they're teaching you the best practices as they're doing it. There's a lot of those options instead of that traditional, well, I just need to clone myself. Because it never works. It creates more headache. You get stuck in what you're doing. You never get an ROI on it for years. And there's just different ways to think about it. And again, it comes down to what type of business you're doing and where your focus is and all that kind of stuff. But there's options there.
And lastly to that, we say that you shouldn't hire employees when your existing employees are at 100% capacity, because who trains them? And you need to consider the same for yourself. If you want to hire employee number 2 after yourself, you can't be at 100 or 110 or 150% capacity and then hire somebody, because you're setting them up for failure and you're setting your business up for failure. So you need to plan that hiring earlier when you're at 70 or 80% capacity, and you can train them and invest time in them.
That's a fantastic point to wrap up, Maria. And we'll do more sessions about this, and we'll talk about different partners. But uh, there's a lot of new people looking at starting up technology businesses. There's a lot that have been doing this for a few years and still micro business. There's a lot that have been doing this for years and are trapped. Again, there's nothing wrong, like nothing wrong with being small, and there's nothing wrong about being deliberate and saying this is what I'm doing. But we're coming across a lot of guys that have been doing this for 20 years that are in the 1 to 3 employee range, and they're trapped. They've got nothing to sell. They've been doing this as a job, and logically, if they would have stayed in actually doing it as a career and working for someone else, they would have made way more money and had less stress and done less work hours than what they've ended up doing when they've fallen into this type of business. So we're try and take this sort of advice and think about things a little different, just so you can learn from the mistakes of the past and others, so you can have better, more successful outcomes. And with what you've been saying the whole time, Maria, successful outcomes are different to each individual. Don't let someone else dictate to you what success is. Success is what matters to you. So I look forward to catching up next time, and we'll do another session again later, Maria.
That sounds great. Thank you.